They weren't soldiers. Not in the traditional sense. No rifles, no grenades, no combat training. And yet, these 1,100 men, painters, sculptors, architects, and stage designers, were sent straight into the war zone, tasked with an impossible mission: to outwit Hitler's most elite panzer divisions using nothing more than paint, rubber, and sound effects. Most Americans today have never heard of them. But back then, the Nazis had a nickname for them: the Ghost Army. And once you learn what they pulled off in the final years of the war, you'll understand why even hardened German generals couldn't believe their eyes. Because this wasn't just deception, it was performance art on a battlefield. The year was 1944. American forces were pushing deeper into occupied France, but every mile was paid for in blood. Hitler's counterattacks were brutal, fast, and lethal. One wrong move and thousands could die. That's when the U.S. military turned to something radical. Instead of charging forward with more tanks and troops, they sent in Broadway designers and radio technicians. Their mission? Trick the German army into thinking entire divisions were marching toward them, when in reality, it was just a handful of men behind speakers, blow-up tanks, and painted canvas. The strategy was madness on paper, but when these artists deployed near Metz, France, the Germans panicked. What they believed was the thunder of hundreds of Sherman tanks turned out to be vinyl soundtracks, blasted from speakers mounted on jeeps. They saw convoys of tanks approaching, but they were made of rubber, inflated like parade balloons. And when Luftwaffe spotters scanned the area from above, all they saw were perfectly placed shadows, fake roads, and motor pools, all crafted by theater painters using props and camouflage. But deception alone wasn't enough. These men had to act. At cafes they spoke loudly about reinforcements. They wore different division patches each day. One day they were infantry. The next day, armored engineers. To the German spies listening, it was undeniable. A massive Allied buildup was happening right outside their doorstep. So when real American units advanced from the opposite direction, German artillery was pointed the wrong way. The Ghost Army had done it. Without firing a single shot, they'd saved thousands. Now here's the part most people don't know. The enemy never figured it out. Even after the war, Nazi officers insisted they'd fought against full divisions in areas where no official combat was recorded. Why? Because the illusion was perfect. It wasn't just about props. It was about timing, lighting, sound, behavior. Every little human detail. These weren't just artists. They were actors on the deadliest stage in history. Let me know to continue with part 2, which will reveal their most dangerous operation and the unbelievable way they helped win the Battle of the Rhine. It was February 1945. The Rhine River stood like a final wall between the Allied forces and the heart of Nazi Germany. Cross it, and Berlin was in reach. But the Germans knew it too. They fortified every bridge, every town, every field with tanks, mines, and artillery. A direct assault would cost tens of thousands of lives. So once again, the U.S. Army quietly summoned the artists. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, better known as the Ghost Army, were given their most dangerous mission yet. Convince the Germans that an entire Allied army was preparing to cross the Rhine, miles away from where the real crossing would occur. Failure meant slaughter, success meant history. But this time, the stakes were higher. They were deploying in active combat zones, within shelling range of the enemy. Every paintbrush stroke, every speaker hum, could be their last. They began with silence. Days before the real crossing, they rolled out inflatable tanks, set up fake artillery, and lit mock campfires. Loudspeakers blared tank engines and shouted fake orders in the dead of night. At dawn, German spotters observed what appeared to be a massive buildup along the riverbanks, trenches, bulldozers, floating bridges. Everything screamed imminent assault. But it was all fiction, constructed from canvas, rubber, and carefully rehearsed illusion. To complete the deception, Ghost Army soldiers even used mail tricks. They addressed letters with fake return addresses and sent them through local towns, ensuring German intelligence would intercept evidence of a phantom division. They called it the 6th Armored Group, a unit that didn't exist, and it worked. German forces rushed reinforcements to the decoy site, moving critical tanks and artillery away from the actual crossing point near Remagen. So when the real American forces stormed the Ludendorff Bridge, they met far less resistance than expected. The result? Over 30,000 American troops made it across the Rhine, with dramatically fewer casualties than planned. The cost of the illusion, one brave unit of artists putting themselves in the line of fire, armed with nothing but creativity. After the war, their story was classified. For decades, no one spoke of the painters, radio men, or set designers who saved lives with art. But those who were there remember the looks on German prisoners' faces when they realized they'd been fooled by ghosts. No bullets, no bombs, just imagination. So the next time someone tells you that artists can't win wars, tell them about the 1,100 men who marched into Germany without a single real tank and walked out as silent heroes of World War II.